Hiya, and today I'm going to do a book review on this. This is The Mask of Masculinity by Louis Howes or Lewis Howes. And I was loaned this book by a friend who read it and got a lot out of it. And I feel like it's a really good book if you want to have kind of guidance. Just cut your teeth on like just something very simple to have a look at masculinity and a lot of the issues that we have as men and how we protect or protect ourselves from our emotions or hide our emotions. I think it's really important. What I like about the book is that there's exercises in here. There's bold sections which really draw your eye to it. So you could potentially skim just all the bold sections and you get a real gist of the book. The stories in here are great, so it really brings home that empathy of like someone's journey of like getting rid of a mask. Some of the masks that are mentioned in here, so like the stoic mask, where like you pretend that everything's okay. Athletic mask, where you're always beefing yourself up and you're always trying to compete with people. There's lots of stuff in there. The sexual mask, that one really resonated with me. The sexual mask, the aggressive mask resonated with me as well. The know-it-all mask resonated with me. The Joker mask, in particular, I feel like the Joker is a shield I've used my entire life, where I'll feel uncomfortable about an emotion coming up, and I'll just like hide it with a joke, or somebody will make me feel uncomfortable. And instead of like, oh man, that makes me feel really uncomfortable, I'll make a joke and make light of it with it, which actually hurts the other person, doesn't allow them to feel what they needed to feel, and also doesn't allow me to feel what I needed to feel. Like understand, well, why is this? Why does this make me feel uncomfortable? What is going on? Um, I feel like it's a pattern throughout my life about avoiding how to feel, avoiding feelings. It also talks about like how we're raised as men not to feel, which was quite grounding in that. What I'd recommend how to read this is personally I'd go to the aggressive mask first. So for me, I see that a lot of men that are suffering depression, like depression is internalized anger or self-directed anger at the self. So in that chapter, it recommends building uh, like a what's it called? Like a wrecking room. That's what he calls it, a wrecking room. So you have, which is a space where you can let out the aggression and the anger, and also feel like like for me, I use a pillow, which can involve hitting a pillow or like tensing around a pillow just to get rid of the anger, the tension that's in your body when something comes up and you realize that well I'm really angry about this and you really need to get that out. I think that's a really good one to start with. I wouldn't recommend reading it from cover to cover if you haven't done any emotional work before. I feel like sticking with one mask and doing the exercises, and if you have a partner and she's on board with you taking some of these masks off, request or ask if she wants to read the chapter two, so she understands what you're currently working on. Like with a lot of things, it's not a race to the finish to take all your masks off, and I think you do yourself a disservice by turning it into a competition to try and get all of your masks off. But I recommend, as a man, just sticking with one mask at a time, and then when you feel comfortable that I've got that one under control, you can readily express that, and you can recognize the feelings. Then you can expand it and look at other masks. The material mask, where you feel like a lot of men, including myself, feel like our worth comes from how much money we have, the properties that we own, or the car we drive, the clothes that we wear, how we wear our clothes, the hairstyles that we have, how we shape our facial hair. I think it really boils down to that external image of what you think a man is, and really inside it's just hollow. and it's quite painful realizing that you spent a lot of your life believing that your accolades is what makes you a man and what makes you valued in society. So whenever you get into a relationship and you start like sharing your assets or sharing your worth, and the relationship kind of breaks down, and you go, well, hey, I'm giving you money, like I'm giving you what I think is what you think is valuable, but there's just no emotional content. You just have no emotional landscape to be able to connect with a partner. I think that's quite sad, and part of it is like, if I make money, I'll get attention, approval, and respect. But that's not how that works. And I think in the political spectrum, and probably a lot of our peers think that way, and it's really hard to try and break out of that pattern and go, oh, there's actually much more to me than just my wallet and my watch and whatever property that I own. I think it's really important to value the inner value, because once all that stuff goes, you feel kind of empty. And I think that's the same with a lot of things where you aim for that external validation, where if you're a musician, it's like, oh, I'm only worth my songs, or a poet, I'm only worth what poetry that I write. I'm an artist, all that kind of stuff. I think it's really important that you look within, and they're beautiful gifts that you have that you need to acknowledge and recognize, and that those are what you can share. I think that's really important. The sexual mask. So for me, like, my character structure of being an achiever who has a very overcharged sexuality, and I feel like me wanting to hunt on the hunt for women was something that I really enjoyed, and I feel like it did a lot of disservice to relationships and closed my heart even more when I would be just hunting women for the sake of hunting. And the thrill of the chase and then that triumph, the hunt, is addictive. And I know a lot of men that enjoy that chase and the trophy of having sex with a woman and playing that game, like that cat and mouse game of like, be pretend empathetic, like pretend to know. I have a vast knowledge of things, and then when you hear something that you kind of know a bit about, you kind of talk to them about that, and you kind of bond. It's this artificial bond, and which makes you really alluring, you're really charming, and next thing you know, you've attracted a woman, but then really it's all about this. It's not a the energy that comes from that sexual encounter is not enough. It's not a complete full body orgasm, if you will. It's a short term fix. It's like an addiction, and it can become an addiction. So it's like with anything that it's achievement based, it can become an addiction. So you also have some great quotes from famous people. One from Einstein, like, try not to become a man of success, but rather try to become a man of value, which is something that I didn't understand. And and what are values? Like, I think this book can really help you question like what you value in life, and I think that's important. It has some entry-level tools for anger, like writing about what's upset you in your life, what's hurt you in your life, which is why I'd recommend reading the chapter on the aggressive mask, because the more you start to reflect on what you've been told and what you've been raised, there's a sense of anger which might be protecting a layer of sadness. But you got to go through that anger to get to the sadness. You can't. I really don't feel you can bypass it. I really you need to feel each layer as it pops up. And it's no point meditate. I really don't think meditating it away is sensible either. I think just being able to feel the anger and discharging the energy, like hitting something, like going for a run or punching, like really punching a pillow, kicking the mattress, like doing like flutter kicks on the mattress, just to get that energy through your body. And then when that's gone, then there's the grieving can continue. I feel like the book tries really hard at social engineering behavior, which I think is we're seeing a lot of at the moment, trying to socially engineer men's behavior, and it's not going to work. It will not work. Telling men how to behave is not going to work. I feel like it's just all heady nonsense that is not going to lead us anywhere. We really need to look around feeling what's going on and knowing that we are there's elements within us that we've been told we aren't allowed to feel, and I really feel it's important that we feel those. But social engineering, like you can't do this, you can't do that, you need to treat someone this way, I really feel like it's just futile, because if you don't respect yourself, you're not going to respect somebody else. If you don't love yourself, you're not going to love somebody else. If you don't respect your body, you're not going to respect somebody else's body. If you objectify yourself through like status or sexuality, you're going to objectify everybody else around you. We're all mirrors. We treat others how we treat ourselves. So I feel like there's an element of social engineering, which is the current theme at the moment. It's not going to work. We've tried it for decades, and social engineering about men's behaviour is not going to change. It's going to be an inner journey, and I really feel that very strongly. And anybody else that disagrees with me can either write a comment or get stuffed. I feel like there's one point in here which is awesome. I love it. And I thought that was just beautiful, because there's times in my life where I feel like I'll do something and I'll feel invincible. And I'm not. I'm not. It means, remember, you are only a man. And I feel like that's important, because there's times in our lives when we feel like we're gods and invincible, and then we tread on people. And I know for me, in my life, in my relationships, like I've trodden on a lot of people. As a people that I've gone full steam ahead on something, and I've trampled people. And I look back and go, there's times when I could have done it better, and there's times when I wish there was a voice in my head saying that you are only a man. Like you are only a man. You're not a god. You're not invincible. Like this is enjoy this event for what it is, but you are still a man. And I thought that was really beautiful. Just read a bit from here. At that moment, on that chariot, at the most incredible point of that general's life, there was a slave standing behind him whispering, "Hominem te memento." Remember, you are only a man. There was a purpose to this. A general praised and fawned over like that might forget he was only a human being. He might become so arrogant, so dismissive, and so full of himself that he would risk ruining himself. After all, a sword cuts through human flesh the same way whether it belongs to the most famous general or the least experienced fighter in the brigade. We have to remember that life is short. We have to remember we are men, not gods. It's okay to admit weakness, to be scared, and to opt out of stuff you don't want to do. Above all, we have to be able to take care of ourselves, to recognize that we are not invincible. So I think this is a great book. I'd recommend it with a majority of men that want to start looking at their masculinity and who have struggled in relationships or feel like they're stuck in life. I really feel like this is the kind of book where you might find some inspiration, or also find a dialogue to be able to connect to other men. I feel like it's a great book for like a foundational book to connect with other men and have a dialogue around like dude, I'm feeling really vulnerable at the moment. I feel like my invincibility mask is coming down, or I feel like I've been really aggressive with my kids, or I feel so empty after years and years of climbing the corporate ladder with nothing really to show for it. I feel like I'm in an unhappy marriage. My kids are unhappy. My wife is like, I know she's not happy, and I don't know what to do. I don't know who to turn to, and I feel like this book will be a great source of wisdom for you. I've seen Lewis speak on YouTube, and I feel like he can get quite intellectual, and I lose connecting with him at times. But I think this book is it's been well thought out and well edited, really well put together. I think it's a very impressive book. I highly recommend it, and read it if you will. I recommend you should, or you could. Bye. Peace.